I remember one agent saying to me, he said, Mike, you are the most competitive person. He said, I love you so much, but you're the most competitive person I've ever met in my life. When I go on a listing and they tell me you're on here, I know I'm not kidding.
Right.
So how do you be successful and people respect, love you, and help? Because I help everybody, right?
Yep.
There's plenty for everybody.
Welcome to the podcast dedicated to real estate, insurance, and everything in between. Join us as we take you along our own brokerage building journeys with additional wisdom from our network of business experts. Welcome to Bricks and Risk. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bricks and Risk. I'm Tim Garrity.
And I'm Sean Mooney.
And today, Sean, we have a super cool guest, someone I'm very excited to introduce to our audience. We have Mike McCann, the real estate man out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. How you doing today, Mike?
Awesome. Wonderful.
Thanks for coming on board, Mike.
Thank you for
it.
being here. So, brief background on Mike. He's currently an associate broker at Keller Williams & Power. He's the team leader of the Mike McCann team and operating principal at Keller Williams Main Line. Mike in his career has sold over 10,000 homes and has close to 50 team members on his team. He's also consistently ranked as the number one real estate team in Philadelphia for over 30 years. Mike's a native Philadelphian, raised in Northeast Philadelphia, which I like to call the Neast. He loves people, working hard, and being a rainmaker. He also believes that patience and persistence are the keys to success. So you were born and raised in Philly. You sold vacuum cleaners door to door in the early 80s, which is super admirable. And you went into full-time real estate sales in 1988. So what was it about real estate that allowed you to go all in for that as your career path?
First of all, a couple things I want to say. I should have had you play, before I ever speak, I always have "You Too, It's a Beautiful Day" song on. So I should have had that.
Nice.
Maybe we can make that work.
That's a ballad.
Because that pumps up the crowd, and then I usually come on and do my one-handed push-ups. So I don't speak with that. I forgot. I should have had you do that. It's a beautiful song. I play that all the time. Anyway, I grew up in the far Northeast, Tim. Okay, not the Northeast, the far Northeast.
Yeah.
Fuck, what is it?
It's definitely different. Definitely different. I agree.
But what made me get into real estate? So I started working when I was like 8 or 9 because people in my neighborhood, their parents bought them mini bikes. And my parents said, you can have one, but we can't buy it. So I started hustling from 8 and I saved up $105. And when I was 10, I bought a mini bike myself.
Wow. So
what I realized, that mini bike, I took care of it. I rode it more. I enjoyed it more than everyone that was handed a mini bike.
Heck yeah.
So that was, then I bought a dirt bike. And so I've been hustling. I was in a restaurant business. When I was 8 to 10, I was carrying groceries, cutting lawns, doing stuff like that. And then at 10 to 12, I was selling soft pretzels. And at 12, I got in the restaurant business. Through high school, I was a dishwasher, prep man, busboy, all that stuff. And I remember, I don't know, like 14 and 15, and people would say in the restaurant, "Slow down, kid! Like, what are you working so hard for? What are you talking about?" Yeah. And it's just, I just like to work, and I like to make people happy, right? And I remember saying to my mom, I said, "Mom, I wish there was a job where the harder you worked, the more money you could make." Because I was getting the same pay as the people that were like looking at the clock, not working.
Yep. We
didn't know about entrepreneurial. It was a blue collar neighborhood, cops, firemen. My dad was a teacher. Nobody knew about that. So I worked through high school, 33 hours a week through high school. Bought my first car before I was 16. So I always had a vibe, but the reward I learned early of setting a goal, working for it, and then obtaining that gave me so much more joy. So that's why I've been a happy dude my whole life, right? So, but I graduated high school and there were no jobs.
Where'd you go to high school, by the way?
George Washington High School. We got bused. We were a mixed marriage. So all my friends went to Ryan because it was a Irish, Italian.
That's my
Catholic
wife, Mike. She's a rag doll.
Okay. Yeah, so we got bused to Washington. It was about 75% Jewish we were like, they were like, who are you people? Anyway, so it was a big ass school. It was it was great. But all my friends went to Archbishop Bryan. Like that's their, So anyway, so I graduated high school, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I always said from when I was little that I wanted to be a millionaire. And the reason I said that is because my parents got divorced. We didn't have any money. So we were always like without. Yeah. And I was embarrassed. And so my mindset was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I want to be a millionaire. And people used to laugh at me all the time. I mean, I remember I did a project in ninth grade, a report, and it was me being a millionaire. And she's like, hey, you can't, like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Figure it out.
My mindset from about 11 was, I'm going to be a friggin' millionaire. Wow. It's crazy. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I graduated high school and I had a thing to go to college, but I went to college for a day and I thought, I don't know what I want to do. I can't waste my time here. So I took a job at the city of Philadelphia in the sewer department. So I worked in the sewers from first year out of high school, and my friends were making fun of me, but I was getting $4.50 an hour, man. That was big dollars back then. I think minimum wage was like $175.
Right.
So
wow.
Big.
Yeah. Big bucks.
And then we got laid off because in 79, 80, in 78, 79, there was major inflation. There was no jobs, the gas lines. It was a horrible time in our country. The Soviet Union was expanding. It was a horrible time. And none of us, all my friends, we could not get jobs. And there was no jobs. The steel mills were closing. The manufacturing was closing. I took the police test twice. I got a 97 and a 98, but I didn't get on because there were so many people going for it. Wow. And vets and minorities got 10 points on me. I took the fire test. So we're trying to get jobs. We cannot get jobs. And so I took this phone call and the guy said, yeah, come in and interview me. And I drive out to Burlington, New Jersey. He puts me in this room and shows me a movie. And the movie was about, it was Chuck Connors, who was it was a show back in the day. It was like a Western guy. And The Rifleman, it was called. And he did this video about an entrepreneur, about you could have the American dream. And it showed you these beautiful houses, beautiful cars, beautiful yachts with beautiful women on it. It showed you all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah.
You're like, that's my vision board right there.
That's what I want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then at the end, it said, it showed you this thing that did 36 things, and it was a freaking $644 vacuum cleaner. but my mindset was like, this is what I've been talking to my mom about for 5 years or 8 years or whatever.
Yeah. And
so I sold that. So that guy, James B. Marion III, became my mentor. He was, his family escaped the Holocaust. He was in law school to be an attorney. Oh. He couldn't afford it. He had to get a job. He couldn't get a job, so he sold these vacuums. He ends up being a Kirby distributor, becomes a multimillionaire. I meet the guy, he's 64, multimillionaire. He got his law degree, but he stayed in Kirby and these franchises. And he taught me everything about never give up. The harder you work, the luckier you can get. Can't means won't. If he can do it, you can do it. So he taught me all these things. And so I walked around Bucks County carrying a $644 vacuum cleaner in my hand, knocking on doors. And by the second year, I was making more than my father, who was a college professor with a doctorate degree. Wow. Hustling vacuums. Now, all my friends in Parkwood thought I was, they laughed at me the first month or two until I started to make big dollars. And they're like, oh my God.
I want to sell vacuums too. Come on, Mike, sign me up.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And he taught me everything. And then at 20, so I did it like a year and a half or two. It's funny. My dad passed away from COVID 2 years ago. We're cleaning out his apartment.
Very sorry to hear that.
Yeah. He had some magazines from 1979. When I was like one of the top guys in the country selling Kirby vacuum.
That's really cool.
Like these magazines, because they had these magazines that showed these. And nice. So I at 20 I opened up with a partner in Delaware. We open up our own office, and I'm engaged at that time. And then I worked there, and we were blowing it up. And then the guy was older than me, took advantage, screwed me. And so finally, I just said, I'm out of here. So after 3.5 years selling vacuum cleaners, came back to Parkwood. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I moved into Center City. started in the hotel business, and I'm at the Hilton. I don't know what I'm doing. And then in 85, interest rates started to drop down from like 14% down to about 12%.
Yeah,
and in 1985, the market started to come back because rates were down to 12 or 13%. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I mean, the market started to boom. Yeah. And two of my friends, they both worked for their dads. So in 85, they said, hey, Michael, I'm at the Hilton. I'm the second highest paid in the Hilton because I was an entrepreneur. I had 3 jobs at the Hilton. I worked all the time. And they're like, come on, Michael, we're going to take a course and buy real estate. I said, I can't. I said, I don't work for my dad. I don't have your guys' money. I could barely keep up with you guys. And my friend says, shut up, Michael, just take the class. So I walk into that class, and within 2 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, you can make a commission selling real estate?
Yeah.
And I thought, I did it with 644 vacuums.
Yeah.
And I was 27 at the time.
Wow.
So I'd been like 3-4 years at the Hilton.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to work nights. I love the restaurant business, but I didn't want to work Friday night, Saturday night,
And you were limited. There was a limit to your income and your growth at the Hilton.
Yeah. So that's it was not 88, it was June of 86. I got my real estate license. And then another thing I didn't know, my friend says, oh, my buddy just opened a real estate company. So I go with Stephen Glass Real Estate, 433 Bainbridge Street, and he puts me in the basement. I didn't know it. The guy didn't sell real estate. He had a property manager. He managed Section 8 rental properties in Graduate Hospital, because Graduate Hospital was all Section 8 at the time, believe it or not. Yep. And I'm in the basement of this place, and he said, gave me a phone book, and he said, you can make a lot of money, start making calls. So I'm like, so I continued. So I started to take courses at Temple. So I taught myself. And one of my mentors was Alan Dom, because he taught a course on sales. I didn't know that,
yeah.
Yes. And I didn't know him, but he was at that time the number 1 agent in America. He was on Business Magazine or U.S.
In
Report.
America? In America. Isn't that crazy?
Alan
What?
Dom,
yeah. Superstar.
Yes.
Wow.
This was like 1988, 1989. And he was the condo specialist. And he was the guy that made 100 phone calls a day. And so I took a course with him at Temple. And I'm trying to sell real estate. Nobody's teaching me. People aren't letting me in their doors. Nobody knew who Stephen Glass Real Estate was. I wasn't Italian, so the South Philly realtors wouldn't let me in. The Center City realtors were like, who's Glass Real Estate? So I had a hard time. Yeah. I made like 17 grand my first year, and I was working 10, 12 hours a day. Yeah. But I was not giving up because I saw what other people were doing. And James B. Marion came back to me in my mind, that mindset, and said, if he can do it, you can do it, but only better. And I just kept that belief. The second year, I think I made 34 grand. And then by the third freaking year, I sold 90 properties, and I was the number 1 agent in Philly.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, everybody's open. Oh, come work for me.
Yeah. Come on in.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk to you at that point.
Yeah. But what's funny, back then the prices were much less. The brokers took 50%. Yeah. So I sell 90 properties. I'm working 12, 14-hour days. I remember I worked 7 days a week. I would take 1 weekend off a month. Other than that, I was working. Yeah. And I had a wife and a child with a second one on the way. Small little house I bought in South Philly for $40,000. I had $20,000 in credit card debt. So people think, oh, you're Mike McCann, real estate man. Dude, I freaking work. Mindset is everything. That's my message I'm trying to tell you and your viewers. And I'll stop rambling in a second. But I just wanted to tell you my story, because my story, I'm not smarter than anybody. I'm not better looking than anybody. I'm not more operational than anybody. I had a mindset that I was going to be successful, and I do love people. I was raised with my mom and 3 sisters with love. So I do love helping people. That's the one thing that I had. But I had this mindset, and I wasn't afraid to work hard because I knew the results of hard work would pay off over time. And I didn't care if it took me longer, but I was going to do it. And so the third year, I sold 90 properties. Now remember, prices are a lot lower. I made 45 grand.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Could you?
You're like, what?
That was 90.
Like 500 a pop.
Yeah, but 90 property. I mean, like, something is clicking where you're like, I'm doing something right. If you can move that much
that many
volume,
a month. Yep.
At least at the very least, something you're doing at that point is going to build some confidence in, I'm onto something.
It's like 7-8 sales a month. That's a lot. That's a lot by today's standards for one person.
Yeah, 90 deals.
Yeah.
You're probably less than 1% of the population.
Crazy.
I didn't. There's no assistant, no in-house title, no in-house mortgage, no in-house insurance. I did all the conveyancing myself.
No tech.
Title. Yeah, no tech. You had to go drive to the title company. You had to drive to the mortgage company. There was nobody. So much easier. There was no internet. Believe it or not, I helped the board of realtors get. When I went to a convention in California in '88, I was on the board of realtors. So what I did, 3 things I want to say instead of me rambling with my story. Right away, I realized in real estate, everybody cooperates. So I thought, I want to have the best reputation, not just with clients, but with the real estate community. Yes. 1. So I volunteered at the board. I took classes. I helped agents. 2, I want to become the most knowledgeable in real estate. So nobody back then was taking it. They got their license and that was it. I took every course at Temple Real Estate Institute, Jay Lamont, took every course there. And so I was able to help more people and do more deals because I became more knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. So have the best reputation in the community, become the most knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. And then I said, I'm going to work the hardest. Now today I say work the hardest, but / the smartest. Because of tech, you have to work smart now, and you can do things so much easier through tech than the old school, just calling everybody and right. They didn't even have voicemail when I started. Right. No computer, no voicemail, no lock boxes. I don't want to get into that too much.
Yeah.
But that was crazy. So that was what I did. So here we go. So the next year, taking another class with Alan Dom, he says, Mike, you need an assistant. I said, Alan, I'm making $45,000 a year. I have 2 kids. I have $20,000 in credit card debt. I don't have the money for this thing. So I did what I did with my mini bike. I said, okay, he's telling me to do this. I'm going to do it. So I saved up about 6 months and I got 3 months of pay. So I hired my neighbor and I said, I need help because her kids went to school, started going to school. I said, I need help in my real estate business. I have 3 months of pay for a job. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I only have 3 months of pay. If it works out, great, you'll have a job. If not, I only have 3 months. So my friends were saying, you're never going to do that, Mike. You're a control freak. I said, I'm only a control freak because if I don't do it, there's nobody else that would do it.
Yep.
So I hired this assistant, and first couple of weeks was weird, and then my wife, who was details. Another key to success, anyone listening, marry well. Yep. So my wife is sales. I'm sales. My wife is details. So she helped me get checklists when I got a listing, when we're going after expireds, preparing agreements of sale, doing my marketing. So she did checklists to give to this assistant. And that next year, I netted $40,000 more by having that assistant.
Wow. There you go. The first level of scaling up.
Yes. And this is 89. Nobody had an assistant. There was no such thing as buyer agency. There was no such thing as teams. Yep. But people would say to me, well, how can you have an assistant? You work for Stephen Glass Real Estate. What do you mean? And I did. And then in 92, I hired my second assistant because the business is now coming in. What was best about the assistant was besides she was doing things that I didn't want to. Alan Dom explained it to me. He said, Mike, if your value is $10 an hour and you can hire somebody for $5 an hour, you'd be better off doing your $10 an hour job. Let them do the $5 an hour job. Yeah. So that was the mindset. And then I netted more. But the best thing was I didn't have to do the things that I didn't want to do or like to do.
Right.
What did I like to do? I like to take buyers out, and I like to be on listings, and I like to negotiate deals and deal with the inspection.
Front lines with the clients, you like being on the front line.
Exactly.
Dude, that's so cool. So here's another one for you. So you love building wealth through selling real estate, but you also love building wealth through owning real estate. About 5 months ago, there was a survey that I found through CNBC, and they said the number one way to build wealth in the U.S. today, so this is, October last year, was real estate. 45%. So they're on par with you and me, building wealth in the United States, you do it through real estate. The stock market was at 32%. So real estate was better. So what is it about real estate that makes it number one in most people's minds, including yours?
Another great one. Ready? Alan Dom. I've had 3 mentors. I've had 3 mentors in my life.
Yeah.
James B. Marion, Alan Dom, and now, believe it or not, Gary Keller.
That's awesome.
But they're my three mentors in my whole life. So Alan Dom said to me, he said, Mike, you can make a lot of money selling real estate. He said, but if you want to build real wealth, you need to own real estate.
Great advice.
Like, I don't have the money to buy it. So mindset. So here I am. It's 1992. This guy calls me up, and I think it was 92, 91, 92. Guy calls me up to look at a property at 3rd and Federal in Pennsburg.
Wow.
Again, it was $30,000 property. Properties weren't that expensive then. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a rough area at the time. There's a bunch of project housing, and it was just a high crime area a little bit. Yeah. So I show this guy, show this guy. I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, I better be careful. I'm not sure. He kind of had like a dirty undershirt on. He didn't look right.
Like, I don't know about this one.
I got my radar up, right? So he's there. I'll offer it. I'll offer cash $30,000. So he takes me over his house on the 300 block of Wharton Street. And because you handwrite agreements then, it was one page, you handwrote it. We write up an agreement. I got it closed for him. He calls me back about 2 weeks later. He's there, Mike. He's there. Do you like boats? I said, yeah. He said, I want you to come on my boat. He said, I really appreciate it. He said, nobody ever treated me with respect the way that you treated me with respect. I said, I'll go on your boat, John. So he takes me down to Maryland. We pull up. His boat is the size of a city block. He has a freaking yacht in the chest. So
you're like, yo, look at this. I'm living it up.
Was he wearing a dirty shirt when he was riding in the boat?
So the guy says to me, he was 44. He said, Mike, I started to buy real estate when I was 18. He said, I was a plumber. He said, I retired at 42.
Wow.
He said, now I own, I forget how many, 30 or 40 properties or something like that. He said, my goal, I started buying real estate when I was 18. He said, I would buy a house, get it paid off in 10 years, rent it out, and stay. He said, I'm 44. I've been working for 2 years. I do what I want to do.
Yep.
I manage my properties. He said, and I love houses. And the reason is my people stay. He said, I don't need the fancy center city buildings that people turn. He said, I love blue collar neighborhoods that have an upward potential, and I get people and they stay with me 5, 10 years. So I went home that night. I said, hon, we're going to start to buy real estate. Now, I didn't have the cash because then you needed 30% down. Oh. Interest rates were about 7.5 for an adjustable. They're about 10.5 for a fixed rate. Yep. So I got a partner who had more money than me, who had been talking to me about investing in real estate. But now I saw how I could do it, because I don't do anything unless I know I can do it. Like, I have to believe in it, right? So I said, you know what? I can do this now. So we went out and for the next couple of years, so I was buying 1 or 2 properties a year. My goal was to get them paid off in 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And so for the first probably 6 or 7 years, I had partners that put cash up. I managed it. I cleaned it up. I rented it. I turned it over. And then the deal was, when we sell it, the deposit money they put up for me, I gave back. But by the late 90s, I could do my career was taking off more. I hired my first buyer's agent in 96, just when buyer agency came in, and I was doing better to start to buy my own. So my goal was to buy 1 or 2 homes a year, get them paid off in 10 or 15 years. All my loans were 15-year loans. Wow. Now, I just want to say one thing is the properties that 1990 to 1996, the market crashed. So some of the stuff we bought became worth less than what I paid for it. I'm like, oh my God.
Like, what am I doing?
But I didn't sell. Then by 97, 98, 99, they started to go up.
Took off, yeah.
By 2003, those homes are worth 300% more than what we had. So my goal was, when I'm 50, to have 50 properties paid off. And that's what I did. So what the mindset for real estate is you need to buy now. You're not going to get rich off of it. People think you're rich. And I paid fair market value. Yeah. It wasn't like, I just got foreclosures, because 1990 to 1994 was a bad time. They started the RTC, the Resolution Trust Corporation. So many people went foreclosures. because they changed all the investment laws. It was a horrible time in real. Between 1990 and 1994, it was about, I think, about 30% of the agents left the business.
Wow.
Every major real estate company in Center City closed up. Throughout the country, values were down 20 to 50%. Again, the foreclosures were crazy. It was a crazy time. But most of the stuff I bought was just fair market, clean it up, rent it out, and I still own them today.
Yeah.
Then so it started to go up in the 90s, and then by 2003, 4, 5, oh my God, it went up another. So the homes I own today are worth 1,000% more than what I paid for them.
Yep.
They've been paid off for 15 years, 20 years, and I still. I'm 64 now, so my wife said, "Mike, you got to stop buying." I'm still,
Where just out of curiosity, where were you buying most of your properties? So your 50 properties were all over?
Yeah. So I have about 70 units right now. So all the places that I really not. So I'm geographical. Before the internet, you always were more geographical. So most of the properties I bought were in Pennsport,
Yep.
Passyunk Square, Grace Ferry,
Oh.
and Queen Village and Bella Vista.
So everything very much South Philly.
Yes, very much South Philly. Yes, yes. And what I looked at was potential, that steady improvement over time.
Yeah.
And when we were first buying the few I had in Graduate Hospital, we flipped. And I once I would sell, I probably sold a dozen, but I pretty much try not to sell because I don't like paying the capital gains and all that stuff. Yep. But yeah, so all in South Philly, and it was funny. You didn't even buy in Point. I didn't even buy in Point Breeze. Now I have a couple in Point Breeze, but South Philly, Queen Village, Bella Vista, Passyunk Square.
Very cool,
Mike. If people look at you online, what translates to me is you're a high energy guy. You know. And it's day in, day out, hustle, hustle, hustle. How much of that is for you and just the way you're wired? And how much is it that you're trying to show your team that energy and hopefully it kind of translates to them?
Right. So in my mindset, I'm an underdog. I've always been an underdog, and I love helping underdogs.
Yeah.
Right. So
Mason Kelsey, the underdog of all time.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's my mindset. So on my team, I didn't grow to have a team. I only grew a team because I got so much business I couldn't handle.
The opportunity
myself.
was there.
Yes, and I needed it to service my clients, but very selective. I only wanted people that had the desire to be successful, that cared and loved people and had great ethics and no negativity and wanted to succeed. Very, very important.
How do you measure that, Mike? Like if someone were like, hey, talk to them and, I got Jane over here and she wants to get into real estate. Like, how do you size them up and think that they're like one that's eager to be successful when you talk to them?
So it's so much different from when I started, because when I started, there were no teams, there were no plans, there were no stuff. And so I would just meet somebody and feel them out.
Eyeball.
So I had people on my team, many on my team, 25, 22, 20, 19, 18 years. Now, the one thing that I did have, again, in school, I was a C student at best, unless I was really into it, then I micro-focused. But I was a C student. But with people, I do have a good gauge. That's one thing my mom always said to me, I'm a good judge of character. Yeah. So, but today, having a big team, so I have actually, 4 teams. I have the McCann team, which is my main team in Philly. Then I have Mainline McCann. We started out three years ago out on the Mainline when we opened an office there. And then I have McCann Commercial, and then I have Unlock powered by McCann. So today, and I have 11 operation people. So today we do KPAs. They like this whole screening whole process, which is so important. So before it was just
going with your gut, sizing them up, eyeball.
Yeah. Now
awesome.
The last 5 years, it's all since I really grew. Since I really learned a lot more about operational. Yeah. But the key to my success is having the right people And I always called it 1 and 1 is 3. So I would build and I like bringing in new people who just had desire. I never bring on these top producers who demand all this stuff. I want to grow somebody so they become, I'm a gratitude person. It's one of my, I'm going to take this off my screen. I'm going to show you this thing I have here, but gratitude is an attitude, right? So if Jim Onesti on my team, the young man does $125 million a year. He works on my team. Insane, right?
Yeah,
that's
totally
more than most, that's more than 3 teams combined, right?
Yeah.
24 years. We are he hasn't needed me for a decade or 2. I haven't needed him, but together we're better.
Yeah.
And I try to build. So today I'm doing, yes, I'll be out handing out door hangers in the winter. I'll take a snapshot. I'll send it to my team. Listen, if I can do it, you can do it. Cut me a break.
Yeah,
Amen.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I try to help people build so your role changes. I was always a giver, even when I didn't have much. I always helped the real estate community, whether they're on my team or not. I just help. Good things happen to good people.
Yeah.
You give goodwill. There's I would help people 20 years ago build a team that weren't in my company, and just good things happen to good people. But today, as I'm building a bigger team, my most important thing is your life changes from feeding your family to building a business and then giving back and helping people grow. So my primary, listen, if I just sold real estate, I'd probably make a lot more than I do running all these teams because I'm helping, most of my time is spent helping people grow. But the reward of bringing people into my life that have the right DNA and then having them grow, whether it's operation people, and you need great operation people today, because and sales people. And I don't ever want the type of person that comes in, they learn everything from me. They're not grateful. They're not contributors. And then 2 years later, they go out and they try to do it on their own. I like people that are going to be with me for a long time. Yeah. And that makes my life, I'm married 37, 38 years.
Oh, congratulations.
I people on my team 25 years. I am a consistency guy, but helping people grow. And then I have agents in here that I'm like, no, you need to buy real estate. They don't want to buy real estate or assistants. The one assistant she came from Kmart with 25 years ago, she's a millionaire from me making her buy real estate.
That's great. Great story.
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And I have a couple of agents that are making big dollars. I'm like, you have to buy real estate. Oh, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm taking you to this house. You're freaking buying this. And then they'll thank you. But what people don't want, yes, you can always do flips. What you need to buy, as long as my real estate covered itself and I made $100 or $200 a month, and it's for the long term.
Appreciate it.
And right now, South Philly's pretty expensive. A lot of the areas.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of my agents go to Port Richmond, because even Fishtown and Kensington are very high.
Yep.
But I like around Center City, West Philly.
Yeah, periphery.
Yes, where you can clean a house up, get somebody in there, get your loan paid off, and I promise you, Philly will continue to grow.
Agreed.
In 20 years, we will be such a world-class city.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yep.
My first 15 years in Philly, when I was selling 86 to 1999, people were like, ew, you work in Center City? Then by 99, 2000, after Randall and
they're like, ooh, you work in Center City?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mike's fancy. He's in Center City.
Yes. Again, I'm rambling. So
that's super cool, man. And this is why we're chatting with you, man. We want to get down into the details. Hey, everyone. This is Tim, your favorite Bricks and Risk co-host. But don't tell Sean. I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'll get right back to it in a moment. Our audience grows through word of mouth. So if you would please take a moment of your time and give us a review on the platform you're on, that would be fantastic. Please also help spread the B&R word by sharing your favorite episode with a friend. We greatly appreciate your time and trust. Now, back to the show. Here's another one. So you were very loyal to your last brokerage. You were there for a while. You built your career. But again, in real estate, opportunities come in front of us here and there. And when they do, you can either seize upon them or you can keep doing what you're doing. And timing is everything. So, your previous brokerage, you were there for a while. And then you pivoted to Keller Williams. So we can see them on your background. And you had said Gary Keller is one of your mentors. So what was it about that KW opportunity that finally got you to move from your longtime spot? And you kind of knew it's like, hey, this is going to be a step up for me. Like, what was it about that?
So I am a loyalty person. My first broker, I was with Stephen Glass 6 years. And the only reason I had to left because I would have stayed with him because I'm a loyalist first. So people started by 1990, people offering me all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm staying here. And like, why do you work for him? But then he started to have problems and I had to leave. So in 92, I moved to Prudential and I went in and then took it's funny. I come into Prudential from Stephen Glass Real Estate. They called me Mr. IBM because I had computers. Nobody had computers. There was one computer for the 100 agents in the office. I had computers. I had an assistant. I was always ahead of the game. I remember, I think it was 89. I paid $4,500 for a laptop or a notebook, whatever the heck it was.
Yeah.
So then I go to Prudential, and now all of a sudden I'm starting to get into the higher level because it's Prudential, not Stephen Glass. So I'm getting more proper Center City and stuff.
Yeah, you're leveling
Love
up.
that. So that guy sold out to Prudential Fox and Roach in 1999, and I was heartbroken. So then I opened my heart to Fox and Roach, and everybody at my office was like, are we going to stay with them? I met them, and I fell in love with them. And then I worked them. And then even like in the mid 2000s, when all these companies, so as I told you, from 1990 to 1994, every major firm left Center City. Yeah. Weicker, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Remax, they all closed down. And then in the late 90s, they started to come back. And then in the early 2000s, they're coming back. And one of the companies offered me $1 million, 100% commission to leave Prudential. And I'm like, I'm not going. I don't care. I'm like, when you're in a relationship, it has to work for both. That works for me, but how long will that continue to work for me? Probably not that long. I stayed. Then after the downturn of, and we had great years. We had a 47% market share. Our office is the number one in the country for Prudential. I end up being from 2004 the number one agent nationally for the whole company for 17 years in a row. Wow. Out of 85,000 agents every year on the state. It's funny. I just got a text yesterday. They had their awards because now it's Berkshire, and a couple of the people texted and said, "Mike, the awards are not the same without you." Because cool. I would come out on there and I would do my one-handed push-ups. In 2018, I came out there carrying the Eagles flag. Because
I love it.
Super Bowl. Yeah. And it was great. But what happened was after the downturn, the downturn was 08 to 12. They started to cut back. Then they got bought by Berkshire. And I saw Keller growing. And in 13, 14, as the agents were leaving, and it's funny, Keller came to me in 05. I'm like, I don't even like that name. Right. You know, a bunch of them came. But by 13, 14, I see Keller growing. Yeah. And our company's shrinking. And everybody that would leave, I'd be like, you traitor, that's a Ponzi scheme. Yep. You know, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Dude, I was loyalist and I loved all of them. And I was loyalist. And it wasn't about money. I knew with the Keller plan, I would make a lot more money, but it's not about money, happiness. Once you can feed yourself and house yourself, you realize when you don't have any money, it's horrible, right?
Right.
But once you can feed yourself, whether you make X or Y,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, agreed.
Yes. But I fought it, and I said to them, "We need to change. We need more training. We need more this and that." And I saw Keller growing and growing. So, like 05, there was 85,000 Prudential agents. It was like 40,000 Keller agents. Turn around by 16. There's 160,000 Keller agents, and there's 45,000 Berkshire agents.
Wow, yeah, that's a big swing.
And I didn't want to leave. And I remember a couple of my younger agents saying, "Mike, it's dying here. Look at that." And I'm like, no. So I fought it for about 5 or 6 years. Saw the change wasn't coming. In 18, I said, you know what? I have a fiduciary obligation to protect. At that point, I had 19 agents and 6 assistants. And they're here because they trust me. And if I don't believe that we're the best company anymore, I need to change that. And so at 59, I end up, so we looked into it, and it was me and Jim and my wife, and we looked into it, and I meet Gary Keller, and I'm like, this guy is freaking me. He's a billionaire. He's doing the business every day. He loves people. His growth plan, his operation is what I always said, but he has it in systems and operations. And the guy was unbelievable. And he's doing it because he loves the real estate agent, not even the business. He loves the real estate agent. So in 19, we made that move. And I mean, 1/3 of my team was like, has he lost his mind? Another third was like, yay. And another third was like, what's he? I'm not sure. Yeah. So it was a big change. And it wasn't, and listen, with a couple of the people from Berkshire, like I cried with them. But I explained, I did it because I believe the next 5, 10, 20 years, this is the best place to be.
How hard was that for you? Because you knew at the time, Mike, that some people on your team weren't going to be going along with that plan, but you kind of made the decision, stuck to it. How difficult was that at the time?
Dude, brutal. Change is brutal, right?
Yep.
So here we have this successful team, number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
All my agents are making great money.
Yep.
My operation team's been with me a long time.
Yeah.
But again, as a leader, you have to make the right decisions.
Sure.
I mean, you have to make the best decisions, and they're not always, sometimes they're hard. That's why I said 1/3 was like, is he crazy?
Yeah.
And then, and because they didn't like Keller. They didn't know. 1/3 was like, yay, which was normally just the younger people, like the newer ones in the business. Yeah. And another third was like, I'll wait and see. So of my 26 people, 25 came, 1 did not. A year down the road, 2 left after that. But so I had 19 agents, 18 came, all my operations people came. But today in the same office, I have 29 agents. So we've grown. But this is when I knew it was the best. So I make the move. So it's hard to make the move. I have emotional contacts with the operation people. Yeah. I mean, the head of Berkshire was like, Mike, I wish you could stay. He said, but I understand. And he said, you're one of the best human beings I ever met, besides the best real estate agent. So 1 or 2 of them were angry with me. A couple of them I cried with. It was hard. Yeah. And with my team, it was hard. But here I am. I'm about 3 or 4 weeks into here. And it's all new. And I'm like I'm like lost, right? I'm like, because it's just different, right? I'm showing up at a different place. I don't know, About 3 or 4 weeks into it, I come flying in the office. My operations team says, Mike, stop. I'm like, what? They're like, we know why you came to Keller. I'm like, why? They point over.
Yeah, why did I?
Why did I? Yeah. Well, a bunch of my agents are in the office. They're learning. They're like, Mike, we feel like we left a funeral and we're at a wedding. The energy here is so much different. And that was great. And then so after 3 months, we started to change systems. And within 6 months, our whole operation changed. And then what's happened is then there's more opportunity. So we have income streams that are not just selling real estate at Keller. There's many different opportunities. Yeah. I'm into it a year, and Gary Keller said, Mike, you have one of the best reputations out of the thousands of people. All I ever get is your incredible reputation. He said, you need to help more people. I said, Gary, I have 26 people. I can't help anymore. He said, shut up. He said, I'll teach you. So I did some with his coach, me and him, a couple times during COVID on Zoom on how to help more people. And I end up buying a market center on the main line, which I never wanted to. I was offered brokerages for years, never wanted to do. But he said it's about helping more people, giving more opportunities so that people that want to grow don't have to leave you. They can grow with you. Yeah. And so that's Jim has grown. There's people in my core that are growing, and I can offer more opportunities. So that's cool. Kind of what the Keller world is. Very entrepreneurial. It's not just about a real estate commission. There's classes on everything. There's support on everything. There's operations on everything. And there's people. So there's way more income streams. And again, I didn't need for the money. I left because I felt it was the best place to be for my agents down the road. And
How much of it was Gary himself, right? So you met with him, and you're a very successful agent. You don't need really to make the change.
A team leader.
But how much of it was getting in the room with Gary himself, and you connecting with him, and him kind of mapping out this vision as to like where you could be 10 or 15 years down the road?
Yeah, it's funny. So the reality of it is that it's probably like, I'm going to try to come up, probably like somebody who has a drinking or a drug problem, right?
Yeah.
They know that they have to change. They know that that's probably a bad analogy, but like I knew that I had to change for a couple of years, and I fought against it, and I didn't want to change. And I saw my friends who had gone to Keller growing, their energy there, having fun. And inside I was jealous because I wish that was our company.
Yeah.
And I was fighting against it because I'm such a loyalist. And I would freak out at everybody that would leave us and go to them. And so finally, when I really met Gary, my wife, Jim, and I really had my mind made up. So Gary didn't sell me at all.
Yeah.
I just spent the day with him down at his place. And it was like, we left there, we're like, unbelievable. And I could email Gary Keller right now. He'll be back to me in an hour.
Yeah.
The guy's a billionaire. He is unbelievable. Anyway, so it wasn't.
So it wasn't Gary.
I was sold before I went there because I knew I needed to change. I saw, just like I saw successful people, I said, they're doing well.
Yep.
And then I knew there was more opportunities. And the biggest thing for me today is if somebody comes and works on my team or in my company, if they don't do better with me than they were before, I'm a loser.
Yeah.
I failed. And I don't fail. I do whatever it takes. That's my mindset. So I have to work harder, or I have to bring more people in. And I'm very, very having a great relationship. As competitive as I am, right? If somebody's going on a listing appointment, I'm probably going to get it. And I remember one agent saying to me, he said, Mike, he said, you are the most competitive person. He said, I love you so much, but you're the most competitive person I've ever met in my life. When I go on a listing and they tell me you're on here, I know I'm not getting it. So how do you be successful and people respect, love you, and help? Because I help everybody, right?
Yep.
There's plenty for everybody. So Gary didn't really sell me, but the opportunity does. And what you're finding is, the people that want to really have big lives, I have to identify if people are like, okay, I'm happy making $200,000 a year, and that's all I want to make, and that's fine. I just want to sell some real estate or whatever, and that's fine. And then I have other people that are like, no, I want to expand. So as we opened up on the main line, as we're going to probably maybe open up somewhere else soon, there's the people that want to grow can grow more, and the ones that are just want to sell, like here, I'm making sure they're supported. Most important thing to me is that people are better with me than without me, and that's by hiring right. And I probably only had a few leave in my career, whether it's operation, probably maybe 8 or 10 in my whole career in operations, and probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 agents, but most of the people are with me. There's in the back of my wall here, there's an album. It's framed and signed, and it's the Hotel California. And there's a song on there from back in the day. It's such a lovely place, but you can never leave. That's what my people bought me a team here. Like,
oh, that's awesome. True words of wisdom here from one of the best. So before we close it out, Mike, and we really greatly appreciate your time today.
I'm sorry, I didn't give you many questions. I rambled on.
Oh no, this is exactly
Mike. We want to listen.
Exactly what we wanted.
We're taking notes.
Yeah. So why don't you tell the audience best way to get in touch with you, learn more about you and your team and everything you got going on?
Sure. Yeah. So it's funny. Everybody says to me, like, that's not you who answers your emails at Texas. It is me. So my rule with my team is you return every call, every email, every text, every day right away, no matter what. Never beyond the end of the day. Most of our calls are returned within 2 minutes to 2 hours. So I am McCann at McCannTeam.com, McCann at McCannTean.com. And I am text 215-778-0901. Those are both me personally. And then, of course, my website, McCannTeam.com. and you'll Google me, and so what I do is put people together, help people out, and there's many people I help every single week that aren't with my company, that aren't on my team. They could be a competitor. I don't care. There's plenty for.
I'm a big believer, Mike, in the 51-49 rule. If in every transaction you do in life, you give 51%, you're always going to be ahead of the game.
I never heard that. I like that, though. Yes,
yeah, I like that too. I never heard that either, bro. Where the hell is that one been?
No, well, I just mean that the other person's going to get more from what I'm giving. It always reciprocates back to you being the beneficiary at some point, somehow, some way.
Great way to put it. Hey,
I want to say one other thing. Yeah. So right now, I've been through 5 downturns in my career. 2 of them severe, and 3 of them softer. Right now, we're in the biggest change. This last year, it was the fastest downturn in the number of transactions in 40 years.
Wow.
Prices didn't drop, but the number of transactions went from 6.5 million to 4.1 million, to 35%. Most people's agents' income are down 20 to 50%.
Yep.
Hang in there. Change is coming. The week will be gone. And every downturn, I always came out of it the next year or 2 or 3, however long it took, to the next level. So those that survive and will thrive as long as they show up. I tell my agent, be in the office at 9 o'clock or on an appointment. Do not sit in your home. Because Zoom kind of, COVID kind of messed a lot of people up. They're not showing up. Be around the top 5 people. You have to be around your top 5 people are going to influence who you are. So make sure you're around quality people. And this is the best business in the world. And yes, some people will be leaving. Some people will be hurt. But every downturn, my business has grown. And this downturn now, I went down last year. I went down about 25%.
Yeah.
But you know what I did? Because I saved my money, I invested another 20% in the business. So my income was dramatically down. But guess what? I didn't cut back in the downturn.
Double down.
I actually increased my marketing, brought on another social media person, got rid of what wasn't working, increased what is working, and invested in me, my business, and my team agents, so that we'll take it to the next level. So don't give up. That's what I have to say to everybody.
Great advice.
Dude, you're a legend, man. We greatly appreciate your time today. We know you're a very busy guy. So we're going to close it out with that one, folks. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bricks and Risk. See you soon. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Bricks and Risk. Our goal is that you walk away with 1 or 2 valuable nuggets, and we greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us today. You can find all BNR episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcast content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.